November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve. While families across America prepared their turkeys and set their tables, a man in a business suit was about to pull off the only unsolved skyjacking in American history. His name wasn't Dan Cooper. It wasn't D.B. Cooper either. In fact, we still don't know who he was. But here's what they don't want you to know. This wasn't just a daring crime. It was a carefully orchestrated operation that exposed catastrophic failures in American security, triggered a massive government cover-up, and may have involved people far more powerful than one man with a briefcase bomb. For 50 years, the FBI has fed us a narrative. A lone wolf, a lucky amateur, a body somewhere in the wilderness. But the evidence tells a different story. A story of deception, conspiracy, and a truth so disturbing that it's been buried under layers of misdirection and lies. Tonight, we expose it all. 2:50 p.m. A man approaches the Northwest Orient Airlines counter. Average height, mid-40s, dark suit, black tie, sunglasses indoors. He purchases a one-way ticket to Seattle under the name Dan Cooper. Cash, $20. The ticket agent would later say he was unremarkable, polite, forgettable. That was the point. Flight 305, a Boeing 727, 36 passengers, most of them heading home for the holiday. None of them knowing they were about to become hostages in the most audacious crime of the century. 3:07 p.m. The plane takes off. Cooper sits in the last row, seat 18C. He orders a bourbon and soda. He lights a cigarette. And then, he hands a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She thinks it's a phone number. Lonely businessman trying his luck. She's wrong. "Miss, I have a bomb." Florence looks at him. He opens his briefcase. Red cylinders. Wires. A battery. She can't tell if it's real. She can't take the chance. Cooper's demands are precise, methodical. $200,000 in $20 bills. 4 parachutes. Fuel the plane in Seattle. No tricks, no heroes, or everyone dies. The FBI scrambles. The bank rushes to photograph every single bill. The parachutes are gathered from local skydivers. The trap is being set. But here's the first lie they told you. Cooper was an amateur who got lucky. Look at the evidence. He knew the exact model of aircraft. He knew it could fly with the rear stairs deployed. He knew the refueling time. He knew the range limitations. He understood the air traffic control protocols. This wasn't luck. This was training. At 5:45 p.m., the plane lands in Seattle. Cooper releases the passengers, keeps the crew, the ransom is delivered, the parachutes are loaded, and then he makes a demand that reveals just how much he knows. He orders the plane to fly to Mexico City, specific altitude, 10,000 feet, specific speed, 170 knots, landing gear down, flaps at 15 degrees. The pilots know what this means. At that configuration, a 727 is the perfect getaway vehicle. 8:13 p.m. Somewhere over the wilderness of Washington State, a light illuminates in the cockpit. The rear air stair has been deployed. D.B. Cooper has jumped into the darkness with $200,000 strapped to his body, and he's never seen again. The FBI launches NORJAC, Northwest Hijacking, the most extensive manhunt in American history. Hundreds of agents, thousands of tips, decades of investigation, the official story. They never found him. Probably died in the jump. Case closed in 2016. But that's where the lies begin. They want you to believe Cooper jumped into a freezing November rainstorm wearing a business suit and loafers. No helmet, no survival gear. Into mountainous terrain covered in Douglas firs and razor-sharp rocks. They want you to believe a man with military precision, who planned every detail, suddenly decided to commit suicide. The math doesn't add up. Could he survive? Absolutely. The jump zone was over the Lewis River area. Lots of clear zones. If he knew what he was doing, and everything suggests he did, he could have landed safely, buried the chute, and walked to a road within hours. And here's what the FBI doesn't want you to know. They did find evidence. A young boy named Brian Ingram is digging on a beach along the Columbia River. He uncovers $5,800 in rotting $20 bills. Serial numbers match Cooper's ransom. The FBI's explanation? The money washed downriver from where Cooper's body decomposed in the wilderness. But hydrologists examined the evidence. The bills were found in a specific sand layer dating to 1974, 3 years after the hijacking. The rubber bands were still intact. The bundles were still together. Those bills weren't in the water for 9 years. The degradation pattern, the sediment layer, the rubber band preservation, it all points to deliberate placement, not natural drift. Someone planted that money. Someone wanted the investigation to focus on the river. to stop looking in other directions. Who and why? For 50 years, the FBI has investigated over 800 suspects. They've publicly discussed a handful, eliminated most. But there are suspects they refuse to talk about. Suspects whose files remain classified. Suspects connected to intelligence agencies. Let's talk about Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. 5 months after Cooper's hijacking, McCoy, a Vietnam helicopter pilot and demolitions expert, hijacks a United Airlines flight using an almost identical method. Same note, same briefcase bomb, same parachute escape, same denomination bills. He's caught within days, sentenced to 45 years. The FBI says it's not Cooper because McCoy was too young, too tall, and had an alibi. But here's what they don't tell you. McCoy worked for the CIA in Vietnam, psychological operations. His specialty? Infiltration and misdirection. Multiple sources claim he bragged about the Cooper hijacking in military circles before his own crime. The FBI's alibi witness? His wife, who later admitted to lying under pressure from federal agents. He bureau closed the McCoy connection because opening it would expose something bigger. McCoy had intelligence ties. If he was Cooper, it means someone with active government training executed the perfect crime. That's not a narrative they could accept. McCoy escaped from prison in 1974. He was killed in a shootout with FBI agents 3 months later. Convenient timing. No trial. No questions answered. But he's not the only suspect with intelligence connections. Robert Rackstraw, Army veteran, helicopter pilot, explosives expert, suspected CIA operative. He had parachute training, aviation knowledge, and a history of con games. A 1978 military database search identified him as a match for the Cooper composite sketch. When journalists investigated in 2016, they found coded letters allegedly from Rackstraw to his unit, confessing to being Cooper. The FBI dismissed it, refused to investigate. Rackstraw died in 2019, taking his secrets to the grave. And then there's the suspect the FBI won't name, the one whose file remains sealed under national security protocols. In 2011, a dying woman told her children that their father, a former CIA operative, was D.B. Cooper. She provided details never released to the public: flight paths, weather conditions, specific conversations with the crew. The FBI interviewed the family, took the evidence, and buried it. Why? What are they protecting? Here's the terrifying truth they don't want you to see. The D.B. Cooper hijacking wasn't just a crime, it was a test. In 1971, America was reeling. Vietnam, Watergate brewing, civil unrest, intelligence agencies were running black operations with zero oversight. Cooper's hijacking exposed catastrophic security failures. No passenger screening, no cockpit security, no bomb detection. Anyone could bring anything onto a plane. Within months, the FAA implemented metal detectors, passenger profiling, the Federal Air Marshal Program. The entire security apparatus we know today was born from this one event. What if Cooper wasn't running from the government? What if he was working for them? Think about what we know intelligence agencies were doing in 1971. Fake hijackings, false flag operations, social engineering experiments. Cooper's hijacking had all the hallmarks: precise execution, minimal violence, maximum media coverage, and a perpetrator who vanished like a ghost. The money found in 1980? Planted to redirect the investigation, keep the myth alive, keep people looking in the woods instead of in government offices. The sealed files? Protection for an operative who served his purpose? The constant misdirection? Standard intelligence protocol. D.B. Cooper may not have been a criminal at all. He may have been an asset, a tool, a pawn in a larger game we're only beginning to understand. And the most horrifying part? It worked. Today, we live in the world Cooper created. Every time you remove your shoes at airport security, every time you're scanned and searched and questioned, you're living in the aftermath of November 24th, 1971. The surveillance state, the security theater, the normalization of constant monitoring. One man, one briefcase, one jump into darkness. And America was never the same. The FBI officially closed the case in 2016. They claim they've exhausted all leads. They say justice may never be served. But justice requires truth. And the truth is still buried under 50 years of lies, cover-ups, and classified files. Who was D.B. Cooper? A lone criminal mastermind who beat the system? A desperate man who died in the wilderness? A military operative executing a black operation? A CIA asset creating justification for the security state? We may never know. The witnesses are dying. The evidence is sealed. The files are redacted, but the questions remain, burning, demanding answers, because somewhere out there, someone knows the truth. Someone saw him land, someone helped him disappear, someone is still keeping the secret. And until that truth emerges, the D.B. Cooper mystery isn't just an unsolved hijacking. It's a mirror, reflecting our willingness to accept convenient narratives, our failure to demand accountability, our comfort in never knowing what our government does in the shadows. The man with the briefcase bomb didn't just hijack a plane. He hijacked our sense of security, our trust in institutions, our belief that some questions should remain unanswered, and perhaps that was the plan all along. Truth is out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be exposed. If you want more untold stories of crimes that changed nations, conspiracies that shaped history, and secrets that powerful people don't want revealed, subscribe to Beyond the Forgotten, because some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be uncovered. Hit that subscribe button. Join us in the darkness and discover what they've been hiding beyond the forgotten, where the truth refuses to stay buried.